will melt away the bitter memory. It's gotta be save me, ba-da-ba-dum-pow. Save me, baby. The little whip crack used to make me really embarrassed because I used to go, shh, baby, and lurch forward, and only when I saw it on television did I realise how sexual that was, and it really embarrassed me.
Sex and love are the two main ingredients of a hit record, you know. I want to make it with you, you know, whatever the title is, it's based on I want to have sex with you. Sugar Me, I'll leave it to your own imagination, but there is an element of something in there, I'm sure.
I've never known what the lyrics meant, because to be quite honest, I haven't heard it for so many years now that I'd have to hear it again and have somebody write the lyrics down so I could look at them. But Sugar Me, I've no idea.
I haven't played this. I tell you, I probably have never played this unless it's scratched. It doesn't look like it was played, really. Yes, it's scratched, but I haven't played this in about 20 years.
Please take into account, I haven't heard this record for, it's got to be 20 years.
And it will be the first time I've actually listened to Sugar Me in goodness knows how many years.
There you are. Let's have a listen, if it works.
Oh, slow.
It was much slower than I played it on the piano.
This must have been mix number 43, I think.
One for you, and one for me. One, for me. Comes 2, 3. Looking sweet.
The bass is incredibly compressed. Sounds like an elastic band.
Crackles are extra.
I can't remember that bit.
The whip crack was a great idea. I don't know whose idea that was, but I thought that was a very commercial idea. I think that answer line was was one of my little ideas.
That was Pete Robinson who made up that phrase.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be talking over this, but it sounds a little dated, and yet it still has its charm.
And the whip crack, you know, since didn't exist then. So we put a plastic chair in front of a mic, we put a piece of paper over it, and we got an 18-inch ruler, and we thwacked the chair.
All right.
Let's just see if we can get the instrumental, Johnny Van Derek. Where are you, Johnny? Can't find it.
This is my favourite section, where this took it totally somewhere different. You would have expected it to be an electric guitar going, yeah, and it went into this lovely, cute violin. I thought that was a great idea.
I'd completely forgotten there was violin on it.
And then at the end I said, OK, Johnny, you can do what you like. And that's when he went. It's quite good what he did. He went right across the beat. Well, right now we are going to be going to see Air Studios. That was because they've moved now. They were on the 5th floor of a big block in Oxford Circus, which is one of the major areas in the middle of London. You've got Oxford Street transversing Regent Street, and it was right on that corner on the 5th floor above what was called a Top Shop. And it was a studio that George Martin built, and he had to have the ceiling, the walls and the floor built within the shell of the building, so everything was between 1 and 2 feet suspended inside the building so that it would have complete soundproofing.
When we used to record late at night, we had to go in the department store, there's a little doorway, press the lift, go up to the penthouse or the top floor, and all this nonsense had to go on where we had to take all the equipment in the lift. It was a whole performance. And it was a strange place to have a studio. It was very odd. But the biggest hits came out of here.
Studio 1, where we recorded it, was the big studio. It's actually strange we were in there, because I remember exactly where I was sitting now, with my back to the control room window. The piano was right in front of me, and Barry de Souza's drum kit was over to the left in a little drum enclave there, with the screens around it.
One for you and one for me. One and one and one. Pardon me. This is Air London Studios, where it all happened. It was up on the 5th floor, and everything was soundproof because of the noise here and making the noise outside, because every group in the world came here. And I handpicked my musicians. I had a great drummer, Barry de Souza. I had John Gustafsson on the bass, and everybody I'd heard about who was good, including Johnny Van Derrick, who was a great country fiddler. And the reason I chose him was because I didn't want anybody who was just pop music. And I knew about the violin. My grandfather and my father both played the violin, and I thought, I'd like a violin. I want to... we're going to get run over here. I want an instrument that hasn't been heard too much on any pop record. In fact, I don't think the violin had ever been heard on a pop record. I thought it'd be rather nice to have one. So I chose him. And the reason I chose him was because he was also jazz and country music. The only problem was that he wouldn't stand still while we were recording him. So I had to follow him with the mic all over the place trying to find out, you know. I had to keep it. It was before violins were mic'd up themselves. So they had to stand in front of a mic, but he didn't know how to stand still. He felt it when he did. If he began sort of scatting, so to speak, he would go all over the room.
I remember I ruined the first few notes of the first take, because as I looked at it was in A, and I started in A like that. And it was actually F sharp. So the MD said, well, stop, bass player, what are you doing? I said, oh, sorry.
I was very focused on what I wanted, and time was money, and I had to get 5 guys who had never played before, playing as a group, and they were all lovely to work with, and I had to get through it quickly, and we did manage to do 3 tracks in 3 hours.
In between takes, I'd be kind of sitting there waiting, and I'd be doodling like this. And she said, oh, well, that's quite nice, those high notes you're playing. Can you work some of these into the arrangements? I said, sure, you know, I forget what the tunes were, but I think it was some album tracks. And I put some things in the middle 8 of one of these tunes, and then Gordon Mills came out and said, well, you please don't do that, play exactly what's on the chart. I said, oh, sorry, Lynsey told me to do that. And then she came out again, you missed out those parts I told you to do. I said, oh, sorry, well, Gordon told me not to do it. So they went inside and had an argument.
I popped in, and I saw a massive argument going on between Lynsey and the bass player, I think. So I popped out again.
She was overruled at this point. And we just did it straight, you know, off the chart, as the guy had written.
It was a demo album, but it was a demo album to show my work, and like any show reel, you want it to be the very best. And we had the budget, I was given the budget, and I went ahead and did it. Also, if I have a budget, I certainly don't cut corners. I try and make it perfect. And for me, at that time, that was perfect. You know, listening now, it might seem very rough indeed.
I'd forgotten all about this session until I saw her on Top of the Pops. And I heard the introduction, Lynsey de Paul, and this song came on. I thought, I couldn't remember the name of it even, Sugar Me, and I started to recognise the bass part. So that's that session I did a few months ago, or whatever it was. And then she took off. Then her career really blossomed, didn't it? She did very well after that.
Sugar me, baby. Sugar me, my baby. Baby, sugar me. Gotta get my candy free. Sugar me, baby. Sugar me, my baby. Baby, sugar me. Gotta get my candy free. Sugar me, baby. Sugar me, my baby. Baby, sugar me. Gotta get my candy free. Sugar me, baby. Sugar me, my baby. Sugar Me was a monster hit and made me known everywhere very quickly, for which I'm entirely grateful. It was a curse because it also pigeonholed me as this very pop, sexy type of thing. And that wasn't my background at all. I'd gone to a good school, you know, I trained in art, and all of a sudden I was pushed into a persona that I never felt I really was. Sometimes I felt like it was a coat I was wearing and I wanted to take it off. It never felt very comfortable, but I played along with it. I did it. I was happy with what happened, you know, as a result of doing that. Because I made money so early in my life, in my very early 20s, I never felt the want or the need to marry. So I never did. I never have. But people often look at me like I'm a bit strange because I haven't.
Good girl. You're a good girlie, yes.
Right. I had a Jensen car, my own house, all sorts of things that people of my own age didn't generally have. Now it's different. 20-odd years ago, I could emasculate a young man without anything. They felt they should be the breadwinner. They didn't like to come to a woman's house and the big car. They didn't like it at all. It didn't work. So I had to choose people who didn't feel threatened by that. And I would pick my boyfriends, who were all very well known, because they were more famous or much richer than I was, to try and rebalance what I thought a relationship was about. But nowadays, I mean, it's a long time. You know, you train, you learn anything, and I can't say I feel isolated now. Like that? Yes?
So do you to a certain extent, perhaps lavish affection on these animals in a way that you didn't get as a child?
I don't think there's any... I don't treat my cats as surrogate children. I think a lot of children are surrogate pets. Oh, oh, oh. You see, very vicious cat here. Vicious fat cat. Hey, and you too. You're a fat cat too. Hey? Hey.
You know what it is? No kids. If you don't have kids and the hassles that you have with teenagers, you can get away with murder. I don't think she's... I think she's gone down a different road. You know, she's never been one for marriage and stuff, and I think she looks the same, really, doesn't she? I mean, we all age, but she still looks good.
I compared myself with Alice in Wonderland. I was quite naive, going into this adventurous wonderland of pop music with all these strange animals and beasts around me, of managers and agents and publicists, and I always felt like, when was I going to go home?
Come on, sugar.